Now, I don't know if you know this, but Carson Beck right now has the odds-on favorite to go #1 overall in the upcoming 2025 draft. Now, I've never worked with Carson. I remember when he was coming through the Elite 11 back when he was in high school and all that stuff. I've never really spent time with him on the field, so I am excited to break down the tape. But how does a player on the preseason ranked #1 team, Georgia, with the Vegas odds to go #1, higher than anybody else, how is that person is talked about as little as I think Carson Beck is talked about? I feel like I don't hear his name a ton. I hear a lot of other names. There's a lot of great players. But when you're on the #1 team and you're ranked #1 and all that, it's kind of like you're on the cover of everything and we hear your name all the time, and I feel like it's not really the case. And I want to figure out why. And I don't have the answers, but I do believe answers typically lie in the tape. So for the first time, I'm fired up to break down Carson Beck on tape. All right, clip #1, we're going to find him fighting his boy Brock Bowers, who was just drafted by the Raiders and I think is about to have a enormous NFL career and a monster rookie year too. But Brock Bowers is going to be one-on-one with a safety in the SEC title game. Give him something at the top, cross face, well-thrown ball. Not a highlight, just a well-thrown ball. What I'm looking at here, 3 and a hitch, on time, ball's ripped. His hands come apart, sorry for the grainy tape. Right when Brock's outside foot hits the ground is when Carson's hands come apart. He initiates his throwing motion, and this ball is just ripped right on his face mask. Let's look at it from the other angle here. It always counts extra when you're doing it on a big stage versus a great opponent, which this is a huge stage and this is a great opponent. And giving his boy Brock a catchable ball. And we saw this a lot. I mean, Brock Bowers is as good a playmaker at the tight end position that I've ever seen in college football. Maybe the best I've ever seen, but Carson Beck was also on time and accurate. Let's get down here in the tight red zone, bringing his buddy across in motion. He starts eyes right, and then he's going to kick back and progress from #1 to #2 off this progression. He's set to throw to his right, brings his eyes back. Here comes this inside. Really, it's a crosser. He's here, and he's widening, and he's just going to end up feeling that leverage and making a really well-thrown ball on his boy's back hip. He can't lead him in there. He's just stopping him right in this hole. Again, on TV, you might watch that and go, oh, he threw it behind him. Great catch. I don't know. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I think that he feels color here and lets this thing go and slows his buddy down. So just the ability to kind of ad-lib a little bit. You know, we talk about off-schedule throws, right? When quarterback makes a move and leaves the pocket. A lot of times off-schedule is from within the pocket. You're just doing something different than what we practice, different than it says to do in the playbook and on tape. Next clip here, I think he's a dynamic play-action passer. Now, you have to have the run game to influence that, which I'm sure they have like 9 6-star running backs in Georgia's running back room. But play action, that looks like a handoff. Okay. Kicks back off of it, gets to a great landmark. And then he's just feeling this crossing route. Now, when he lets this ball go, this guy's got his back to him. The underneath defender's got his back to him. So what we can't do is miss low. Okay. And we've got help over the top, so we can't overthrow him either. And so this is a high percentage throw here. But just look at this accuracy. There's people everywhere. In this picture alone, there's 3 defenders. Okay. But when he lets this ball go, when his hands come apart, this is the picture that he sees right here. Okay. And then this is the picture that ends up happening here, where we've got 3 people, and because it's Georgia and who they're playing, that scores. But if that's the NFL, inevitably for Carson Beck, he'll play in the NFL. If that's the NFL, that ball's complete too. And that plays out all the time. We got to throw it over people and under people. So the tape is impressive to me. There's a bunch more stuff you can pull too. But I think what's more impressive, it's similar to a Mac Jones story in college where this guy sat at Georgia for 3 years, watched a lot of other people have success. When JT Daniels got hurt a few years ago and they went with Stetson Bennett, they could have gone with Carson Beck. He was on the roster. So watching them choose Stetson Bennett and him go in and win back-to-back national titles, I think would have frustrated a lot of players and said, dude, I'm out of here. I'm going somewhere else. It didn't. He stayed. He watched, obviously learned, grew from that, and is now sitting in a situation where he had a great year last year, and he's poised to have a big-time NFL contract type year his last year at Georgia. Of the 40 senior quarterbacks starting this year, he is only one of 7 to actually be starting for the school that he signed with out of high school. So 33 of the 40 senior starting college quarterbacks all transferred. And so I just think like that's a testament to staying believing in the system, knowing that when it's my turn, I can play at a high level. But the thing is, when you sit for 3 years, you start wondering if it's ever going to be your turn. It takes a lot of confidence. His stats last year, 72%. That was third nationally. That was number one in the SEC. Just under 4,000 yards. That was third nationally, first in the SEC. Had 24 touchdowns, 6 picks, but he also had 116 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. He's a big, tall pocket passer, but if you watch his tape, he can run a lot better than you would probably give him credit at first glance. This dude can move. So I'm not into making predictions. I think they're preseason ranked number one. That doesn't sound crazy to me. I think there's a couple teams that are going to be right there. One of the reasons I'm so fired up for this college football season, particularly down the home stretch, is there's a handful of teams that could totally win it all. But as you enter the season, them being number one, that makes sense to me. I got so many guys coming back, and again, I don't know why people don't talk about him as much. Maybe it's all the 5 stars in his room. Maybe people don't give him as much credit, playing for a coach who's been winning it lately. But Carson just appears poised for a great year. Confidence should be at an all-time high right now. And then the ceiling for him, I don't know. Las Vegas thinks is number one. But what do you think? Leave in the comment section. If you're a Georgia fan, I know what you think. If you're not a Georgia fan, curious to see what you think. What do you think Carson Beck's going to do this year? I think, which is not crazy to say, I think he's going to have a great year and be in the mix at the end of the season.